Welcome to the Designated Drinker Show, the podcast that's raising the bar on craft cocktails. I am your host, Louise Solis, and with me, as always, is my very, very, very talented friend who always leaves me in awe, the mixtress DC Gina.
Hi, Louise.
Hi, lovely. How are you?
You know, Louise, I never thought I'd say this, but I think homeschooling is going to kill me.
Yeah, you got to think of it this way. It's making you a stronger woman.
I didn't ask for this. I had 2 children, but I didn't ask for this.
So you're coming to us from home today?
I am. I'm coming to you from home after a long day of being the teacher for kindergarten and first grade, and a lot of moms, you don't know what you're talking about. So let's get this drink on.
Okay. So, Gina, I'm going to take you back in time, way back in time, to some of the most remarkable creations of classic antiquity. I'm talking about the 7 wonders of the ancient world. So, what are the 7 wonders, you ask? Well, let me tell you. They are the Hanging Gardens of Babylonia, the Temple of Artemis, the statue of Zeus at Olympia, and the mausoleum of, and this one's hard, Halicarnassus, something like that, and the Lighthouse of Alexandria, which I mentioned once before, a long time ago on one of our shows about a couple years ago. Also, the Great Pyramid of Giza, which is the only structure still standing. And last but not least is Colossus of Rhodes, which was a statue of Greek sun god. It was erected on the Greek island of Rhodes in 280 BC. And according to most, Colossus stood about 108 feet tall, which is the same, basically the same height as the Statue of Liberty. So it made it the tallest statue of the ancient world. Unfortunately, it collapsed during an earthquake in 226 BC, but good news is we at least have a few pieces that were preserved. Those damn earthquakes, Mother Nature. She always gets her way.
She will.
She's like, Greek god. Anyway, so in recent times, it's really interesting is that they actually are trying to recreate or build a new Colossus at Rhodes Harbor. But apparently there's some debate exactly of where its location should be, where it was. And so they still got some things to iron out. But hopefully, it'll all come together. So, which brings me to today's designated drinker. You're like, how the hell did that all make sense, Louise? Well, it's because it's all things that leave you in awe. She is. Yes, she's very impressive. She, her title, yes, Director of Communications of ACLU of Virginia, alone. That's very impressive. But what she does with the rest of her time is equally inspiring. So I'm so happy to introduce Edith Bullard as our next designated drinker. Welcome to the show, Edith.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Yay.
Yay. I was wondering what all that was going to lead up to also.
But I was like, what did you make?
She makes amazing things happen. That's what it is. So speaking of all those things, tell us about, and I want our listeners to understand how much you give. You're one of those amazing people that just really give, and it's so genuine and so much a part of who you are. Will you please share with our listeners just some of the organizations you support and the efforts that are the great efforts that you go to and the great lengths you go to help others?
Sure. First I'd like to say that, I do it because I love it and because I always get so much from it. And there's a couple things that are really, close to my heart. One of the projects I've been working on for several years, so about 4 years now, is with an organization called Village Med, who is in the process of trying to put a pediatric clinic in Haiti. And so we've been going back and forth to Haiti for probably the last 3 years, trying to find land, trying to find, kind of doctors, trying to find a variety of different things. We were finally, donated some land up in the mountains of Haiti, but there's no infrastructure up there. So it's quite a struggle. And not to mention that there was a coup this year. So we haven't been back to Haiti probably in about 18 months, but still on the burner and still something we really want to be doing. And then, one of the other things, you go to another continent is in Nigeria. We've been working with Boko Haram women who have villages were basically kind of destroyed, and they all end up in Lagos, which is the capital of Nigeria. And we work with them basically on women empowerment kinds of things. We, try to give them skills. We're working with a fish farm in order to try to get them to be able to adopt that in order to raise income. We've been working with them on trying to create a reusable sanitary napkin, which doesn't sound like a wonderful thing, but in Africa, with that population, it's a big deal. And then, I come back home and I do a number of things, right here. The chairman of the board for Carpenter shelter, which is a homeless shelter right in Alexandria, Virginia. A population that, it's, one of those interesting things because Alexandria is a lovely area, but it also is an area that is not very affordable. And populations who have lived in Alexandria for years and years and decades are now not able to afford to be there. And so being able to find solutions for them and help them find a way to have forever homes in different ways is important. Food and Friends, I deliver meals to in my free time. In my free time, I deliver meals to Food and Friends, which is an organization that delivers food to people who have some type of terminal illness that need to be supported by food. And I love working with kids. So when nothing else through my church, I work with a couple of children's group. I have a women's empowerment or girls empowerment group for children 8 to 18, where we do everything from go to art shows to explore self-image to whatever they have an interest for. We write poetry, haikus the last time. And so, it's just a variety of different things that kind of keep me going.
So let's that was an awful lot. So let's go back to Haiti, shall we? Yes. Tell us a little bit more. So you said you have this is kind of right up your alley now, Gina. New land, working, getting goats. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing there. Let's take a deeper dive. What is what does it mean? I mean, I don't know that everyone truly understands the great need that's there.
Sure.
And what drove you to do that? Why there?
I think why there is the organization, which was in place long before I started working with them. First went to Haiti right after the big earthquakes and hurricanes a few years ago that was so destructive to all of Haiti. And as destructive as it was to, Port-au-Prince, which is kind of, the capital of Haiti, is much more destructive when you went up into the mountains, into, La Haye and those kinds of places. And so they went in, and particularly when going into the mountainous areas, they believed that people had forgotten about them, that they weren't getting any of the aid that was coming through. They weren't the beneficiaries of any of the things that had happened in more of the populous areas of Haiti. And so the people from Village Med decided that they wanted to build this clinic in La Haye, which is on a mountain, which has no road that gets to it, which is another story in and of itself.
Making a difficult situation even more difficult.
Making a difficult situation even more difficult. Because primarily there were children, there were adults there that had never seen a doctor. And so it was important that, there's a lot that, you can't do for, kind of the older members of the community, but if perhaps you can start with children and getting children healthier. And helping children, develop some type of self-image and helping children read, that perhaps they will be in a better shape or be able to create a better community than their parents and the parents before them. And so that's why we chose La Haye. And, that's, kind of why we trek up to the mountains. And again, like I said, one of the families up there donated land. But it's an interesting proposition. I mean, we're still a long way to go. There is no running water in La Haye. There is no electricity in La Haye. And so when you start talking about creating a clinic, it's all going to be about creating the infrastructure in order to support the clinic too.
I think the really interesting thing, or sad point to that is that it's so close to the United States. Haiti is not far away. So when you talk about it, that no infrastructure, just the basic needs, to know that that really is just a short flight from here, and we have islands, a lot of developed countries obviously have interest throughout the islands, and it's just so baffling to me to even think that those things just don't exist.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think that particularly as Americans, sometimes we need to realize is that the things that we see on the islands are not necessarily the totality of the islands. So there are beautiful, beautiful resorts in Haiti, beautiful gated white beach resorts in Haiti.
Yeah.
But, you need to go outside of those gates sometime and see what's going on truly in that country.
Yeah.
Or any country that you're in.
Yeah, I was going to say it's even common here within the United States, right? There's things that you get past the surface, and it's a completely different story.
Okay.
And then, so in Africa,
yes.
You do this. This is really close to your heart and to your family, right?
Yes, the project is being led by my stepdaughter, who one day when I grow up, I'm going to be just like her. She just has a passion for empowering women and girls, and has forever. And she started out if I talk about where she really started, she started that she graduated from college as a singer, wanted to be a professional singer. Didn't make it, didn't work. The industry is really hard. So I decided to use that talent. She went into Africa and used to work with HIV orphanages, and she would go over, produce a musical, and the kids in the orphanage would perform the musical, and that's how they raise money. And
that's wonderful.
She's just kind of blossomed from there. She's probably been in something like 24 college countries in about 14 years doing these kinds of programs.
Wow. And the name, I'm sorry, is that Change Rocks Foundation?
Yeah,
is that what you told me the other day?
Change Rocks Foundation, but she actually has changed the name to Change International. So either way, but if you put changerocksfoundation.org, that's what you'll get to Change International. But it's a great organization. And again, like I said, it's about empowering women and children. In Africa, human trafficking is still a huge, huge issue. Child rape is still a huge, huge issue. And much of that is because, women don't have the self-sufficiency, to do that. And yet understand that, in many cases, human trafficking is because families are selling their own children because they need to eat.
Yeah. And
so being able to provide some type of self-sufficiency for these women is really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's it. And that, too, to think that human trafficking is obviously an issue throughout the world, but to think that that's the selling of your own child, the desperate space people must be at for that to happen. It's got to be a very low place.
Right. And it is. I mean, no doubt about it. But I have to say that, again, and we talked about this at one point, and, I do this not because of what I do for them, but because of what I get out of it. And I always get out of it so much more than I put into it. And so you look at these people who had nothing, you look at these people who are in desperate things, but they have such a resilience of spirit, and they have such a resilience of, kind of history and their ancestry and what they're about, and such a love for, their culture and their combined family, because the units are very large sometimes. Is it just supporting each other because, there's no one else out there to support them. So, I'm always amazed.
So Gina, do you know?
I can't even say anything. I'm sorry. I'm listening, and I have like a million comments, and then I'm like, you go to the next thing that you do, and I'm like, and that's so important too. And that's amazing. Like,
do you know Food and Friends?
Yes,
what that was?
I raise money for Food and Friends every year.
Great.
So I'm a ticket seller. So basically, I show up and I make cocktails for the benefit. So they have one day a year, Louise, where they have one benefit that raises pretty much 3/4 of the money for the foundation to run for the entire year. And I am one of their auction items. I am I do whatever they need.
Selling a woman for good, not for bad.
Right, for
right?
bad.
You can get me for your party, and it's you know what I mean. But if it's gonna bring in money, and I believe in Food and Friends from when Food and Friends was in Southeast, and it was a very small structure. And I was in college when I first started volunteering for them and packing small meals when people really were still unsure of how they felt about HIV. And that's how Food and Friends really started. It wasn't just terminal illness. It founded off of Women Walker Clinic and feeding people with HIV. And for me, that's a very personal issue. I had a brother that had it and has died from it. So I, 100% gave to whatever I needed to do, So I love Food and Friends. I think they're a wonderful organization. And if you're listening to this podcast and you live in DC and you think that you need to do something, they're always looking for volunteers.
Always. And not just DC. If you live in Maryland, if you live in Virginia, they deliver in all three, states now. And, there's different days they need different people, and you could be in the kitchen or you can deliver meals. There's always a lot that you can do. And they look for groups to volunteer. So once we get past a little bit of this COVID, if you have a group that would like to, corporate group or volunteer group that would like to volunteer together, please give them a call. They use all the help they can get.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, Gina, maybe that'd be a good reason to get some of our designated drinkers together.
I would totally do that.
Especially if we get a cocktail with Gina later. That'd be awesome.
After. And not on premise.
As I said, after.
How do you get involved? I have a question. How can you help with the trafficking? Like, I see all these different, so we do a lot of stuff here for like women that just have no voice, and like domestic violence and stuff that's here in DC. And I always think about that, like, how can we not just raise money, but know that it's helping people to not traffic their children, not to sell their children. It is an unbelievable. When you said that, I just almost started crying because I've heard, read. But I've heard from people that like work on like different organizations how horrible it really is between the different populations, and then just countries that literally people have multiple 7, 8 kids and give away 2. It's insane to me.
Yeah. I mean, human trafficking is a huge issue, and, there is no easy answer for it at all. Certainly, having people have a living wage is a huge part of it. Even, there's a human trafficking that happens here in the States a lot of times around things like, with runaways that, kind of leave their homes for whatever reason, find themselves around bus stations, et cetera, which are huge spaces in the United States where young kids are picked up for human trafficking. So, I mean, again, the root causes are very complex. And so I don't know that there's an easy answer. I think all you can do is try to pick at it and try to make people as self-sufficient as possible. And, all the other thing that we all can do is to be at least aware that it's happening. And if you see something that looks a little hinky, there are all kinds of numbers that you can call to report if you think that someone's being trafficked. Look for that, particularly when you're at truck stops. Look for that, particularly when you're, like I say, you're in those large places like bus stations, train stations, et cetera, because that's a lot of times where you can run into those kinds of circumstances.
That's interesting. I would have never thought. I mean, you're right. If you feel something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't.
Right.
And you're right. If the smallest thing we could do is just be aware and to act upon those moments, that's great advice, because it's something we all can do. You just turn it on. Don't ignore it.
Right. Exactly.
Interesting.
Make that phone call.
Yeah. So, Gina, are you thirsty yet?
I am, but I have a question for Edith. Edith, when do you sleep? Do you sleep?
Yes, I do sleep. I do sleep, but their days are full. Believe me, that the days are full. And but again, I think that, as I said, it's kind of the stuff that speaks to my heart. After one just last night, after working at advertising agency for the last 12 years, I decided to leave and go to the ACLU of Virginia. And again, that was just one of those things that I saw a need, and I could play a role in something that makes a difference. And I jumped at that opportunity, even though, it is, less income, less whatever, but it is what I needed to do for my heart and soul. And, we've got our own issues here right in the US of A that we need to be dealing with day in and day out. And ACLU Virginia gives me that opportunity.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow. Yeah, no, we definitely need to have a drink. All right. So I'm up. Okay. I'm feeling like, wow. All right, I'm going to turn my camera down.
Great.
So if you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching the video, you'll be able to see everything that we're doing. So basically what we're making is a daiquiri. Louise told me that you're a fan of rum. I love rum. I love all kinds of rum. Light, aged, spiced. I believe that you told Louise that you had, what kind of rum do you have today, Edith?
I have Captain Morgan's private stock.
Oh, yum. I love that. So does everybody have like a shaker tin or some sort of shaker?
You know what? I'm going to run and grab one real quick.
Okay. If you don't have that, we also can use Tupperware. I just use Tupperware on another. Wait, I'll show you. It's great. You use like a Snapware, like this, right?
Yeah.
And you snap it. It works so good. It's crazy.
Well, one of
It's
our
like-
last episodes with Shauna Mendelson, she used with Jay Lewis, he actually used his sports shaker, his sports drink, his
that's
protein
fancy.
shaker.
I was just showing her, Edith, that you could just use Snapware. It doesn't matter.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had plenty of parties where there's just too much, right? All right. So I do not have my jigger with me. So we're going to put 2 ounces, and I'm just going to use an actual tablespoon. And we're going to pour in 2 ounces of rum. I am using a white rum. And we're going to drop that in. 2, 3. Make sure you measure it 2 ounces. And this is where a daiquiri gets really personal. So a daiquiri takes 1 ounce of lime juice. So it's a 2-1 ratio. And a lot of people like to put 1 ounce of simple syrup into their daiquiri or sugarcane syrup. But we are going to use our vanilla syrup that we all made. Did everybody make it? Edith, did you make it?
No.
She made a simple syrup.
But I have a substitute.
What do you got? What do you got?
They told me that I just needed to put a little bit of sugar and some water, and I did that.
Perfect. So you're going to take a half an ounce of your simple syrup, or we're going to use a vanilla-based simple syrup.
This is so delicious. Gina, this simple syrup is delicious.
It's the vanilla bean did all the work. I didn't do it. Nature again provided that for us. All right, so in here is legitimately this is a daiquiri. That's all that goes into it, right? So it's rum, sugar, and a lime, right? So if you go to like pretty much any of the islands or South America where rum is prevalent, this is the base of every single drink, right? Whether it's a tea punch on the islands and you're adding sugarcane syrup and a lime, or you're in Brazil and you're having cachaça and you're adding the lime and sugar again and shaking it. So we're gonna put some ice in there, and then we're just gonna shake. Did you add ice, Edith?
No one told me ice.
Sorry. We're gonna add ice to your drink. We'll wait. I'll wait for you.
I'll do it.
Sorry. So again, Gina, you just said the daiquiri is really just sugar, lime, and rum.
Yes.
And those are the basic ingredients.
Yes, that's all it is. But you need to put them together in the right way, right? So you want to 2, 1, and for me, half ratio. But 1 is also fine. All right. So are we ready to shake?
Yes. Let's shake it.
All right. Let's shake it. right, so I was gonna say, so when you can like write on there and write your name or write Edith's name, then you know that you're ready to take this off and your drink is ready to go. So what has happened is you got a nice little frothy action happening, and you're just gonna strain this into a rocks glass, coupe, wine glass. You're just gonna serve it up, not over fresh ice. And if you're at home,
the same problem I'm having trying to get the top off of it now that it's like.
Oh, I'm gonna show you a trick. You want a trick?
Yes, I need a trick.
Ready? So when it's like this on the side, when it's like that on the side, you hit it on the side that it's not on. So it's gonna like hit it off.
I think she has the other kind, Gina.
Oh, take the little top off, Edith. Does the top unscrew on the top?
It should, but it's not doing that either.
No, the very little top, the little,
Very little top.
little knob.
I tried that too. It doesn't like it.
It might be too cold.
Oh,
So,
I have to take your word for it.
so
Take your word for it.
no, well, we can wait, and you can just like run under a little bit of warm water, and it'll come right
Is that
off.
what it does? Okay. I'll be back.
Edith, I'm getting you a bar. I've decided I like it. Let me see yours, Louise.
I used a dark rum.
Ooh, it's pretty.
Thank you.
Nice glass.
Oh, thank you. That's when I was making the simple syrup yesterday. Dave's like, "Oh my God, what is that?"
It's
Smells
good.
delicious, doesn't it?
It's a good recipe.
So why? Let me ask you this while we wait for Edith. Why use? So this simple syrup you had white wine, sugar, and the vanilla bean. What is the difference? Because you always have typically have you have me make simple syrup with water. Why wine?
Did it come off?
Yes, it did.
Yes.
I learned something new.
You can thank my 7th grade chemistry teacher for that one.
Because you were mixing martinis in the 7th grade, right?
No, you remember like you would have that ring, that ball, and the ring, and you would set the ring on the ring, and you could put the little thing through like this, and then it would cool off, and you couldn't get it out, and then you would heat it up, whatever.
All right.
Literally. Mr. Pagano, I learned something. He's probably like, what? Anyway, all right. So we're gonna take a little lime wheel like this. Yeah. I was gonna put it on the side of your glass.
I can do that.
And we can just do a quick one. So cutting a lime wheel, you wanna make sure that your fingers are here and just come down the side. And then one little slit and for the top of your glass.
Wonderful.
Yours is prettier, but it's there. There's a slit.
What? It doesn't.
Here we go.
You have a better soul, Edith. So to eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Ooh, that's good.
Ooh, very nice.
Did that take you back to the islands?
Takes you back to the islands. I have to try it with the real simple syrup the next time.
You know what's nice about this though? Rum is personal. Like everybody has a rum that you like, and like you should drink what you like. You don't have to like. Every recipe isn't made so that you make it just that way, and that's the only way to do it. Like using like a good Haitian rum. Oh my gosh, forget it. It's so good. But I would do any of the Haitian rums with sugarcane syrup from Haiti. Because the sugar cane there is delicious, where they make the molasses and everything from.
Yep.
So like I'm very lucky. Sometimes I get some Haitian rum from my friends that come back, and it's obviously been a while, but Haitian rum is wonderful. It'd be really nice if there was a way that some of the better rums could actually come into the United States and not
Is
just
it because it's such a small batch that they're so small?
No, it's because the United States is a big piece of shit, and they're mean to anybody that can't pay their taxes that they want to import and export. The United States does not do business well with other countries. I'll say it. I said it.
Yeah.
Yes, you said it. I mean,
you guys can all nod secretly, but I'll say it. It's terrible.
When you're coming through the airport, you can only bring a certain number of bottles into the country. Yeah. which is pretty.
Do you know, actually traveling abroad, there's certain countries you can't take anything in. I learned that the hard way. Belize is terrible. Belize taxes their liquor really, really high. Apparently, it's extremely high.
Oh, really?
And then, and you can't buy anything in the airport and take it in. I will say some of my friends and maybe me snuck some things through, though, so that you could take it in. Yeah.
The joys of traveling.
Exactly. So, well, someday we'll be able to do it again. Someday.
Yes.
So let's do our little housekeeping while we're at it, Gina. Where are they going to go to get this recipe?
DesignatedDrinker.show.
Wait, where are they going to go and what are they going to get?
They're going to go to DesignatedDrinker.show for the tips, tricks, and how-tos. Did I say it right?
You did. It was perfect.
Thanks.
So, yes, you're going to get all of Gina's pro tips. And the other thing we want to make sure is that we will have links not only in our episode notes. If you guys are listening and just scroll down, they'll be right there. You will also, on our website, and we'll make sure they have all the links to the wonderful organizations that Edith is behind. And
right.
You want to find out more. Obviously, there's a lot of people in a lot of need and a lot of ways for all of us to get busy and be helpful.
Sounds good.
It sounds like a good holiday gift instead of trying to give people gifts during COVID. So do that. Give some money.
Great idea.
Give in honor of somebody's name. That's always that's a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what everyone should do this year.
It's like a two-parter gift. Actually, It's a three-parter gift. You'll feel better for what you did. You give to somebody else, and you're giving in somebody else's name.
Right.
That's all. A win-win-win.
Win-win-win. Love it.
All right, Gina, this one's you.
Okay. All right. So in this new, all the kids, it's all the rage. Everybody has identifies themselves with a spirit animal. And they're like, I really identify with, I don't even know, a Bengal tiger. And you're like, oh, that's what, why? Because they're running and all that stuff. If you can identify yourself with an ingredient, a spirit ingredient, what would that ingredient be and why?
Oh, you stumped her, Gina.
Oh, spirit ingredient. Oh my gosh.
Something that just defines you. It could be anything. It could be, I don't know, mint. I think
it would be ginger. I think that ginger is a little unique and a little spicy and has just a little bit of bite. And I think that would be my spirit ingredient.
Oh, I love that. That's a good definition.
It is awesome.
I love that. Maybe we should ask this question before the show so we can make the ingredient with a spirit ingredient.
That would not be a bad idea.
That might be fun.
Edith, I think you just inspired a new part of the show.
Okay.
We'll call it the Edith segment.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I think this is a wrap. Edith, thank you so much for being a guest on the show, but even more so for all that you do and inspiring us to be better people. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you. Hopefully that I shared something that will touch somebody.
You definitely
Absolutely.
did. Even if it's just me.
Great.
You nailed it.
That's it. One person at a time. That's all it takes. It's make a difference.
Cheers, ladies.
Cheers,
Thank
ladies.
you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
The Designated Drinker Show is produced by Missing Link, a podcast media company dedicated to connecting people to intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Missing Link is a proud partner of Hearing Charities of America, a nonprofit organization that supports those who are deaf or hard of hearing. To learn more about HCOA or to find out about Missing Link's other podcasts, head over to missinglink.company. That's missinglink.company.